She didn't walk into a courtroom that morning. She walked into a reality check. To Olivia Wellington, Providence Municipal Court was just another counter, a place where money fixed mistakes and last names erased consequences. But within 30 minutes, she'd discover something her privilege never taught her. Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom doesn't trade in influence. Her father's name opened every door in the city, but not the one that led to mercy. Because in this courtroom, status doesn't speak. Character does. This is the story of a young woman who told a sitting judge her father could buy him. And the moment America remembered that respect isn't for sale. Before we show you what happened next, tell us where you're watching from. And subscribe to Case Closed, where true justice still has a pulse, and Judge Caprio's legacy reminds us that money may buy silence, but never integrity. Case 2025 TR 47286, City of Providence versus Olivia Wellington. Judge Caprio glanced at the file, then looked up. Miss Wellington, please state your full name for the record. The young woman at the defendant's table was scrolling her phone. She didn't look up immediately. Olivia Catherine Wellington. Her voice had the smooth disinterest of someone ordering coffee. Judge Caprio set down his pen. Miss Wellington, when you address this court, I expect your attention. She glanced up briefly. I said my name. You did, but you're looking at a screen, not at me. She sighed and set the phone face down on the table. Olivia Catherine Wellington, happy? The judge's expression didn't shift. This court is no less valuable than your time. If you're here, be here. Miss Lewis made a notation. The stenographer's keys clicked steadily. This respect entered the record before the fine did. Judge Caprio opened the case file fully. You're charged with speeding 68 miles per hour in a 35-mile-per-hour zone. That zone is a school zone, active hours. You're also charged with reckless operation and failure to obey a lawful order. Olivia shrugged. I was running late. We'll get to that. Officer Thomas Rodriguez conducted the stop. Officer, please approach and be sworn. Officer Rodriguez stepped forward, raised his right hand, and took the oath. He was mid-40s, compact build, 20 years on the force. He'd seen plenty of attitude, but this one had stuck with him. Judge Caprio gestured to the witness stand. Officer Rodriguez, walk me through the stop. Rodriguez opened his notebook. Your Honor, on October 14th at approximately 2:40 p.m., I clocked the defendant's vehicle at 68 in a 35 school zone. Children were present on the sidewalk. I initiated a stop at the intersection of Benefit and Angel. Did the defendant comply immediately? No, Your Honor. She continued for approximately 2 blocks before pulling over. When I approached, she was on her phone. Judge Caprio made a note. What was her demeanor? Rodriguez hesitated, choosing his words carefully. Dismissive, Your Honor. When I explained the violation, she asked if I knew who paid my salary. The judge looked up. Repeat that, please. She said, do you know who pays your salary? Then she said, her father contributes more to the city than I'll make in my lifetime. Did you perceive that as an attempt to influence your official conduct? Yes, Your Honor, I did. Olivia leaned forward. He was being dramatic. I was late to meet friends. He made it into this big thing. Judge Caprio turned toward her slowly. Miss Wellington, you'll have an opportunity to testify under oath if you choose. Right now, Officer Rodriguez is giving his account. You'll wait. She sat back hard in her chair. The judge returned his attention to the officer. Did you issue warnings or go straight to citation? I issued the citation for speeding and reckless operation, Your Honor. The failure to obey stems from her refusal to provide her license immediately. She told me to call her lawyer before she'd hand it over. Judge Caprio nodded. Thank you, Officer Rodriguez. You may step down but remain available. Privilege was the defendant, not the driver. Judge Caprio turned a page in the file, then another.
His reading glasses caught the overhead light briefly. "Ms. Wellington, this isn't your first traffic matter in Providence." Olivia tilted her head. "I've had a couple tickets. Everyone does. 3 prior speeding violations in 18 months. 2 were in school zones. 1 involved a stop sign you allegedly rolled through near a crosswalk. Those were handled. Yes, all 3 were resolved by counsel on your behalf. You never appeared in court." She spread her hands. "My father's lawyers handle those. That's what we pay them for." Judge Caprio removed his glasses and set them on the bench. "So you've never personally faced a consequence for unsafe driving?" "I paid the fines." "Your father paid the fines through his attorneys. You've never stood here and accounted for your choices." Olivia's voice sharpened. "Is that illegal?" "No, but it explains why you think this is transactional." "Isn't it?" The question hung in the air. Ms. Lewis glanced at the judge. The stenographer kept typing. "We'll come back to that," Judge Caprio said quietly. Judge Caprio folded his hands on the bench. "Ms. Wellington, do you understand that school zones exist because children's lives depend on drivers exercising care?" "Of course." "Then why were you driving 68 miles per hour in one?" "I told you I was late." "Late to what?" She hesitated. "Lunch with friends." "Lunch was more important than the safety of children walking home from school." "That's not what I said. It's what you did." Olivia's jaw tightened. "Look, I get it. You want me to feel bad, I'll pay the fine. Let's just finish this." Judge Caprio leaned back slightly. "You'll pay the fine? Just like the last 3 times?" "Yes. And then what? You'll drive the same way next week?" "I'll be more careful." "Will you? Or will your father's lawyers handle it again?" Olivia stood abruptly. "What do you want from me?" "I said I'll pay." "Sit down, Miss Wellington." She remained standing. "This is ridiculous. My father is Richard Wellington. He's the biggest taxpayer in the city. We fund half the public projects, you see. The mayor has dinner at our house." Judge Caprio's expression didn't change. "Sit down." "I'm just saying you're making this into something it's not." "Miss Wellington, sit down now, or I'll have Officer Wilson assist you." She sat, but her eyes were defiant. Judge Caprio waited a beat. "You've just told me that your father's tax contributions should affect how I treat your case. Is that correct? I'm saying maybe you should remember who supports this city." "I remember every day. It's the people who come here without lawyers, pay their fines from their grocery money, and don't tell me their father knows the mayor." Olivia laughed, a short, sharp sound. "Come on, Judge. My dad can buy you and this whole court." The stenographer's hands froze mid-keystroke. Miss Lewis looked up from her desk. Officer Wilson shifted his weight near the door. Judge Caprio's voice remained level. "Miss Lewis, have the stenographer read back the defendant's last statement." Ms. Lewis nodded to the stenographer, who scrolled back on her screen. The stenographer read aloud, "My dad can buy you and this whole court 5, 7, 10, 12. That was how long the courtroom watched wealth test authority. Judge Caprio finally spoke. "Ms. Wellington, you have just insulted this court, the office I hold, and every citizen who has ever stood where you're standing, without money to shield them." Olivia's confidence wavered. "It's just an expression." "No, it's a belief. You believe justice is for sale?" "That's not what I meant." "Then explain what you meant." She fumbled for words. "I just meant my family has influence. Everyone knows how this works." "How? What works?" "This court finds. People with resources get different treatment. That's reality." Judge Caprio leaned forward. "Not in this courtroom." Olivia tried a different tactic. "Okay, I apologize. I shouldn't have said that. Can we just pay the fine and move on?" "We haven't addressed contempt yet." Her eyes widened. "Contempt? You told a sitting judge he could be bought in open court On the record? I was frustrated. I didn't mean it literally. Judge Caprio shook his head slowly. You meant it. You've operated your whole life as if rules are suggestions for people without your last name. That's not fair. Fair. You drove 68 in a school zone. You told Officer Rodriguez his salary made him irrelevant. You stood in my court and said your father can buy me. Now you want to talk about fair? Olivia's voice rose. I just said the truth. Everyone knows money matters. Money matters in many places, Ms. Wellington. It doesn't matter here. Then where does it matter? This is just a traffic court. This, Judge Caprio said quietly,
is where a grandmother who can't afford her water bill comes to pay a parking ticket because she respects the law. This is where a single father takes a day off work he can't afford to lose because he knows he has to answer for running a red light. This is where we decide what conduct the City of Providence will tolerate. So no, Miss Wellington, this is not just anything. If you think judges should protect the courtroom from arrogance, hit subscribe to Order in the Court so this kind of justice reaches more people. Olivia tried once more. Your Honor, please, I apologize. Sincerely, I was out of line. Judge Caprio studied her. Do you know why I'm still talking to you instead of simply imposing sentence? No. Because I want you to understand something before you leave here. You can pay a fine. You cannot pay for respect. Respect is earned by how you treat others, especially when you have power over them. I understand. Do you? Or are you just saying what you think will get you out of here fastest? She said nothing. Officer Wilson? Judge Caprio said, please stand by. The bailiff moved closer to the defendant's table. Olivia glanced at him nervously. The court chose discipline over humiliation. Judge Caprio straightened the papers in front of him. Miss Wellington, for your traffic violations, speeding in a school zone, reckless operation, and failure to obey, I'm imposing a fine of $1,200, mandatory driver safety course completion, and a 90-day license suspension, effective immediately. Olivia nodded quickly. Okay, that's fine. I'll pay today. I'm not finished. Her face went pale. For direct contempt of court, your statement that your father could buy me in this court, I'm holding you in contempt. The sentence is
30 days custody to be executed immediately. You'll be remanded to the adult correctional institutions. After 15 days, you may request to behavioral review for possible early release. Olivia stood again, her voice breaking. You can't arrest me. I'm Olivia Wellington. Yes, Miss Wellington, you've mentioned that several times, and right now you are in contempt of this court. My father will have your job. Judge Caprio's expression remained unchanged. Officer Wilson, take Miss Wellington into custody. Officer Wilson approached with handcuffs. Miss Wellington, please turn around and place your hands behind your back. This is insane. You can't do this to me. Ma'am, turn around. She looked at Judge Caprio, then at Miss Lewis, then at Officer Rodriguez, searching for someone who would intervene. No one moved. Officer Wilson guided her hands behind her back and cuffed them. The metallic click echoed in the silent courtroom. You'll regret this, Olivia said, her voice shaking. My father will bury you. Judge Caprio spoke from the bench. Your father is welcome to attend your review hearing. He cannot buy his way past today. Officer Wilson led her toward the side door. She twisted to look back at the judge. This isn't over. For now, Judge Caprio said, it is. The door closed behind them. Money stopped working the moment the cuffs closed. Ms. Lewis called the next case while the courtroom settled. A man in his 60s approached the defendant's table. His hands were calloused, his shirt pressed but worn at the collar. Judge Caprio glanced at the file. Mr. Bernard Shaw, you're here for a parking violation near Kennedy Plaza. Yes, Your Honor. I parked in a loading zone. I drive a bus for Ripper. I was 10 minutes into my break, needed to use the restroom at
Diner. I know I shouldn't have parked there. The fine is $85. I understand, Your Honor. I can pay today. Judge Caprio studied the man. How long have you been a bus driver, Mr. Shaw? 22 years, Your Honor. You have no other violations on your record? No, Your Honor. I tried to follow the rules. Judge Caprio made a note. I'm reducing your fine to $40. Pay at the clerk's window, and thank you for your service to this city. Mr. Shaw blinked. Thank you, Your Honor, I appreciate that. As Mr. Shaw turned to leave, Judge Caprio spoke again. Mr. Shaw, did you witness the previous proceeding? I did, Your Honor. You have any thoughts? Mr. Shaw hesitated, then spoke carefully. Your Honor, I've come to this court 3 times in 22 years. Every time I came respectfully, paid what I owed, and left. I'm glad to see that everyone has to do the same, no matter who their father is. Judge Caprio nodded. That's how the public trusts us, Mr. Shaw. Thank you. The bus driver left through the main door, the one Olivia Wellington hadn't been allowed to use. Judge Caprio turned to address the courtroom. Several people waited for later cases. A few journalists had materialized in the back row, drawn by the disruption. I want to make something clear, the judge said. When someone stands before this bench and says, "My father can buy you," they don't insult me personally. I'll go home tonight and sleep fine. They insult every clerk who processes paperwork honestly, every police officer who writes citations without favor, every grandmother who saved from her Social Security to pay a parking ticket because she believes in doing the right thing. He paused. This courtroom belongs to those people.
It doesn't belong to anyone's father. It doesn't belong to the mayor's dinner guests or the city's biggest taxpayers. It belongs to the public, all of them, equally. Ms. Lewis made notes. The stenographer transcribed every word. Wealth can buy many things in Providence, Judge Caprio continued. It can buy legal counsel. It can buy nice cars to drive too fast in. It can buy comfort and opportunity, but it cannot buy this bench. It cannot buy my judgment, and it cannot buy immunity from consequences. He looked down at his docket. This court is adjourned for morning recess. Equality is loudest when money fails. By that afternoon, the video had been clipped and shared across social media. The headline wrote itself. Billionaire's daughter tells judge, "My dad can buy you jailed for contempt." Local news picked it up by the 6 o'clock broadcast. Legal commentators debated whether 30 days was excessive for a first contempt finding. Civil liberties advocates questioned whether wealth bias worked both directions. Defense attorneys called it grandstanding. But in the comment sections, in the coffee shops, in the RIPTA buses rolling through Providence, the response was different. Good. About time. This is what judges should do. One viral comment read, "My aunt paid a fine last year for an expired meter. Took money from her prescription budget. Glad to know rich kids can't just buy their way out while people like her sacrifice." The video's most replayed moment wasn't the handcuffs. It was Judge Caprio's response to Olivia's claim about her father. You can buy many things in Providence. You cannot buy this bench. That line became a meme, a rallying cry, a reminder that some institutions still refuse to be purchased. 3 days later, Richard Wellington's attorneys filed a motion to vacate the contempt
Sentence. They argued that Olivia's statement was emotional hyperbole, not literal corruption. They cited her age, her lack of criminal history, her contributions to charity through her family's foundation. Judge Caprio denied the motion in a written order. The defendant's statement was clear and unambiguous, he wrote. It reflected a belief that judicial outcomes are for sale to those with sufficient resources.
Such beliefs, when expressed in open court, undermine public confidence in the justice system. The contempt finding stands. The defendant may request review after 15 days served as previously stated. Richard Wellington himself never appeared in court. His lawyers handled it just like they'd handled everything else. 15 days later, Olivia Wellington appeared via video link for her behavioral review. She wore the standard-issue clothing of the adult correctional institutions. Her hair was pulled back. She looked smaller somehow. Her attorney spoke first. Your Honor, Miss Wellington has been compliant during her incarceration. The facility reports no disciplinary issues. She's had time to reflect on her conduct and wishes to address the court. Judge Caprio looked at the screen. Miss Wellington, you may speak. Olivia took a breath. Your Honor, I was wrong. Not just about what I said, but about how I've lived. I thought money meant I didn't have to care about rules because someone would always fix things. I didn't understand that rules exist to protect people, not to inconvenience me. She paused. I've met people in here who are serving time for things they did because they were desperate or scared or had no other choice. I was never desperate. I just didn't care. That's worse in a way. Judge Caprio listened without interrupting. I can't undo what I said, Olivia continued, but I can promise I'll never think that way again. And
If you reduce my sentence, I'd like to do community service. Not through my family's foundation. Me, personally. So I can see the people I've been ignoring my whole life. Judge Caprio made a note. Your attorney is correct that your institutional record is clean, and your statement just now is more reflective than anything you said in my courtroom 2 weeks ago. Olivia nodded. I'm reducing your sentence to time served effective immediately. You'll be released this afternoon, but I'm adding 200 hours of community service to your traffic sentence. You'll serve those hours with the Providence School Safety Program, helping manage crosswalks in the school zones where you were cited. Thank you, Your Honor. Don't thank me yet. If you fail to complete those hours, or if you appear before me again on any charge, the remaining 15 days will be reinstated, and you'll start from zero. Is that clear? Yes, Your Honor. Very clear. Then we're done here. Good luck, Miss Wellington. The screen went dark. Ms. Lewis made the final notation in the file. Another case resolved, another lesson delivered. Months later, a reporter asked Judge Caprio if he'd been too harsh on Olivia Wellington. He considered the question. I've been asked that a lot, he said, and I always answer the same way. My job isn't to be harsh or lenient. It's to be fair to everyone equally. But 30 days? She didn't go to jail for speeding. She went for contempt. And contempt isn't just about respect for me personally. It's about respect for the process. If I let someone with money and connections tell me I'm for sale, what message does that send to the bus driver who takes a day off work to pay his $40 fine honestly? The reporter nodded.
People think judges have power, Caprio continued. But our power only exists if the public trusts us to use it fairly. The moment they think we're for sale, we're finished. All of us. So when someone says, my dad can buy you, I have to respond. Not for me. For everyone who's ever trusted this court. Do you think she learned anything? I hope so. Time will tell. But at least she learned that in my courtroom, money doesn't buy outcomes. Conduct does. The interview ran that evening. It was shared 14,000 times. One comment stood out. This is what justice looks like. Not perfect, but trying. She entered thinking price equals power. She left learning that respect equals freedom. The courtroom didn't change. Judge Caprio didn't change. But over the next 30 days, one young woman discovered something priceless. That in a world where influence often bends the rules, character still has weight. And some things in America can't be bought. Some people still won't be sold. Would you have shortened her sentence or stood firm like Judge Caprio did? Tell us in the comments below, because this wasn't just about 30 days. It was about a lifetime lesson that real justice doesn't follow money, it follows conscience. If you believe integrity still matters, share this story with someone who thinks status is a shield, and subscribe to Case Closed, where we keep Judge Frank Caprio's legacy alive. A legacy that reminds us that the law means nothing without heart, and that compassion, not privilege, is what defines true power.